Hey guys, this is Shayna from YumiYarns.com and I'm back with our 7th tutorial on how to knit a sock from the cuff down. If you haven't caught the last tutorials, you can go back and rewatch them. I've got them both at YumiYarns.com with written instructions and tips and stuff, and up on my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be working the foot because we finished our gusset. See that nice pretty line we made by doing our decreases consistently? And we're back to our original stitch count. So I cast on 64 stitches and I'm back to 64 stitches. I'm using Suburban Stitcher Sock Yarn. She was nice enough to send us this beautiful ball of her clean slate colorway to use in the tutorials. So please go check out her stuff. She's got gorgeous yarns and help support indie dyers and Suburban Stitcher especially this month. She's our featured dyer for the indie sock along. And which, if you don't know what that is, it's super fun. It's a year of knitting socks. All the information's up on my site and I'll have links below and everything. So today we're going to be knitting the foot of our sock. We've got, I'm going to zoom you out just a smidge here. Whoops. We've got our cast on, our cuff, our leg, our heel flap, because we're doing heel flap for this sock. We turned our heel using short rows. We picked up all our stitches along the side of the flap, and we made our beautiful gusset. And now we're going to get things set up to knit the foot. So with this sock, it's pretty simple going because we're just doing stockinette. So it's just going to be knitting no matter what side you're on. And if you're knitting a pattern though, you're going to want to get things situated so that you know which stitches are on the top of your foot and which stitches are on the bottom of your foot. Because if you do like a textured pattern stitch and put it on the bottom of your foot as well as the top of your foot, there's a lot of people that don't like the feel of the textured stitches when you walk on them, which is understandable because, I mean, it can be kind of bumpy and you may not think it while you're knitting it, but once you're standing on it or you've had them in your shoes all day, it does not feel good. So we're going to start by getting our stitches split up, because we last left where we were doing our gusset decreases and our beginning of round marker is here. I don't have a marker there because I didn't want to make it even more confusing on camera for you guys, but since my needles split right there, I know that that's my beginning of round. I've also done this a few times, so it's easier to eyeball once you've got a little bit of practice. So what we're going to do, I'm going to split so I have all of these stitches on, all these stitches, so the bottom of the foot stitches onto one needle, and all of these stitches, the top of foot stitches, onto the other needle. So I'm just going to kind of scooch this down. We're going to knit across these. It's a little bit stretched out because I've had it tucked away in between filming these lessons and it got a little bit wonky, but we're just going to quick knit to our marker. If you had a beginning of round marker in there, you would want to take it out before starting to knit these. So we'll knit to our first marker here, and this is our new beginning of round. And what we're going to do is we're just going to clip onto that little bar of yarn between the stitches. That's how you attach a marker if you're working between needles. Just clip it right like that. Make sure it's a locking ring marker. If you somehow manage to get a non-locking ring marker onto your yarn and connected like that, it's not coming off once your sock's done. So what I'm going to do, because I need one of these needles to work with, is I'm going to come back here and slip these needles, or these stitches, back to this needle. And like I said, we're doing just really basic vanilla socks, And if you see vanilla socks written or talked about somewhere, all that is just like a simple sock pattern that doesn't have a lot of things going on. So usually that means like a stockinette sock like this, or a simple ribbed sock. More often than not, it's just stockinette, because vanilla is, you know, kind of plain and simple, and these are kind of plain and simple socks. So we've got those stitches adjusted, and then we just knit across to our other marker. And if you're working on DPNs or magic loop or anything, you can kind of adjust things however makes sense for you on your needles. If you're more comfortable having a stitch marker on the actual needle and not on your fabric like I showed you with mine, you can actually arrange the stitches so that you have 1 or 2 stitches before or after the marker in between, or on your DPN, so that your marker can just sit on your DPN. It doesn't have to be in the fabric. So like if you don't have a locking ring marker or something, you can definitely do that, and it's just fine. You just kind of want the stitches to be semi-even on your DPNs. So you don't want one that only has 5 stitches and one that has like 30. That's not as helpful. And I'm actually just going to slip these and then work them. This is kind of the fiddly row as you get things set up. And there are other ways of getting around this. If you're working on a mini circ, which that's just a circular needle that is 8 or 9 inches in circumference and is designed to be used for making socks, I'm just going to take that marker out. If you're working on one of those, you don't need to mess with this quite as much, because all you'll have to do is take the first beginning of round marker out that we removed when we very first started, and then just knit to this one and know that's your new beginning of round. So nice and simple. But the thing with those, I know a lot of people find them very uncomfortable to knit with. So it's, you know, try a bunch of different needles if you haven't already, a bunch of different knitting styles. Some people really like 2 at a time toe up. I don't care for that. It just is too fiddly for my liking, but my friend Katie swears by it. So, you know, everybody's got their things that they're gonna like, and that's okay. So since I now have my stitches set where I've got top of foot here, bottom of foot here, and it's pretty obvious that that's the bottom of the foot because you have your heel in. I've got my beginning of round marked on this side. Now I can just keep knitting around and round and round and round in circles until my foot is as long as I want it to be. You are going to want to end at your beginning of round. You can't just like decide right here when you're knitting on the last round here that you're done. You do need to knit over to your beginning of round because you'll need to start adding your toe in next. But I'm just going to lay this down for a second to show you kind of how you measure. So with these, because the flexi flips are kind of wonky, it looks a little bit weird because they keep trying to pop up. But I'm going to zoom you in here. When you measure, it's kind of like when we measured from the cuff down. You're going to measure from the back of the heel when it's laid flat to where your needles are. So if your needles are being weird like this, you can actually, I'm going to zoom you out just a bit there. Rearrange it so that it is like this, where you kind of fold your heel in half, like that. And it's still going to be a little wonky on this side. That's okay. This is where you're going to measure from, this farthest point here. You just kind of want it laid out as smoothly as you can get it so that you'll still be able to measure from here to where your needles are. So right now, after my gusset and half a round, I am 3 inches into the foot of my sock, pretty much, which that is 7.5 centimeters-ish. So your pattern should tell you how long, it should have a length of either knit so many inches for your size or so many centimeters, or what most patterns will do is they'll tell you knit your foot until you're 2 inches from as far as you want it. So if you want your sock to be a total of 10 inches, you do not knit this part for 10 inches because you have to put a toe on, and a toe is going to take some space. So you're going to want to knit your foot. So like with my sock, I want 2 inches shorter than the total length of my sock. I'm going to knit mine 10 inches because I have big feet. So I will want 8 inches total from heel, oops, get out of there, to where my needles are. So I'm going to knit my foot this long, and then I will start my toe, and my toe will probably end up just slightly taller than the leg of my sock. Some people will, oh, never mind. That's a tip for the toe-up socks. Never mind, we will talk about that in a couple weeks. Anyways, so follow your pattern. If your pattern is unclear or you want to make sure that you have the best custom fit socks, measure your foot. When you're standing flat on the floor, you may need a friend to help you because you want to measure from where your heel, like the back of your heel where it flattens out, to the tips of your toes. Whatever toe is your longest toe, you want to measure to the tip of that. And then take your pattern, and if it says knit 2 inches shorter than the total length, you will take your foot measurement minus 2 inches, and then that's where you stop your foot and start your toe decreases. Keep in mind though that if you're making a smaller sock, so mine's 64 stitches, mine will take 2 inches in the toe to finish out. If I was making like a baby sock, I would not have 64 stitches, so it would not take as long for me to decrease in the toe. So my toe for a baby sock would be a lot smaller. I would probably leave like 1/2 inch before I start doing the toe decreases, like 1 inch, 1/2 inch, depending on how many stitches there were. Because if you've only got like 30 stitches on a sock and you're decreasing those, you're going to run out of stitches a lot faster than you will with 60 stitches, just because you don't have as many to work with. And the rate of decrease doesn't really change if you've got less stitches. It's kind of a percentage thing. So it's based on stitches. So the length of your toe is based on the length of the stitches, or the amount of stitches that you have. So that's why it's important to measure your foot and make sure that it's where you want it to be before you start adding your toe, and not knit your foot too long. But yeah, so that's about it. Oh, if you're doing patterning, I just wanted to touch on this really quick. If you're doing patterning in your sock, which the indie sock along, there's a lot of textured patterns going on this year. So you want to make sure to stay on top of which side is top, which side is bottom. Patterning only goes up here. Some patterns may have you do decreases in different places and stuff, but for a standard sock shape, you're going to want to keep the patterning up here if you're putting in your own stitch pattern or something like that. That's more for where this tip comes in. If you're doing a pattern that has decreases in weird places and interesting construction and all sorts of stuff like that, then follow your pattern. But yeah, So that is about what I have for the foot. I'm going to keep knitting on mine, and I will be back tomorrow. And actually, yeah, I will be back later today, possibly tomorrow, possibly today. Probably tomorrow. With the toe instructions and a link to Kitchener-ing your toe shut. And then we will be done with our cuff down basic socks. It'll be very exciting. I'll have the full pattern available for you in sizes babies through adults on the 13th. That will be live at yumiyarns.com, and that's just a free pattern. So yeah, if you're interested in that and you want to, you can sign up for my newsletter. There's a link below in the description. And I send out newsletters every Wednesday, usually try to give out patterns or discounts or something like that, and I usually try to include some sort of tutorial. So always something good, never garbage newsletters. All right, well, I hope you guys have a wonderful time and have fun knitting your socks, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.